Have you ever looked at someone at the top of their game and just wondered, how did they get there? What really separates the good from the truly great? Well, according to Robert Greene's incredible book, Mastery, the secret isn't some innate talent or a lucky break. It's actually a process, a roadmap that anyone can follow. And today, that's what we're going to do. We're breaking down that exact blueprint for reaching the absolute peak of any field. So this really boils down to a choice we all have to make. On one side, you've got Sam the Dabbler. We all know a Sam, right? Jumps from one shiny new project to the next, never really digging in, and ends up with a lot of surface level knowledge, but no real depth. Then you have Sarah the Master. She gets that greatness is a long climb. She embraces the process, the frustration, the thousands of hours, because she's building a real legacy. That's the path we're here to talk about.
Okay, so what even is mastery? Green's definition is so much bigger than just being good at something. He calls it the high point of human potential. It's a kind of power, a deep intelligence where you're so connected to your field that you have this incredible command over reality, over people, and most importantly, over yourself. It sounds intense, I know, but Green's whole point is that this power is accessible to any of us who are willing to walk the path.
And lucky for us, he lays out a really clear roadmap. So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll really nail down what mastery is. Then we're going to walk through the three big stages he identifies, starting with the apprenticeship, leveling up to the creative active phase, and then finally reaching mastery itself. And at the end, we'll talk about how you can actually start on your own journey.
So what's the big idea here? The most crucial thing to get is that mastery isn't some lightning strike of genius. It's not about getting lucky. It's a structured process, a journey that systematically takes you from being a total newbie on the outside to becoming a true intuitive master on the inside. Let's just look at how that progression works. It all kicks off with the apprenticeship. This is where you're basically on the outside, looking in, just absorbing the fundamental rules of the game. Then you graduate to the creative active stage. Now you're starting to see how the machine actually works from the inside. You're tinkering, you're experimenting, you're finding your own voice. And finally, if you stick with it, you reach mastery. This is where your knowledge is so deep, so ingrained, you see the entire field with this incredible, almost effortless clarity. All right. Let's dive into stage one, the apprenticeship. This is the bedrock for everything that follows. But here's the twist. It doesn't start with picking up a tool or reading a textbook. No, it starts with an inward journey. It starts with discovering what Greene calls your life's task. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Before you can master anything out there in the world, you have to get in touch with your own internal world. Greene believes we all have this unique inclination, this innate force that was guiding us as kids. The real first step is just learning to listen to that voice again. So how do you actually find this calling? Well, Greene gives us some clues. Look back to what you loved as a kid, before the world told you what was practical. Find a niche that feels uniquely yours. And this is a big one. Avoid the false paths. Don't just chase a paycheck or what other people think is cool. Be flexible, be willing to pivot, and see your career as a winding journey, not some straight, predictable line. So once you have a direction, the actual apprenticeship begins, and it happens in three modes. First, you're in what he calls the passive mode, just deep observation. You quiet your ego, you watch, you listen, you learn the rules. Then you move into the practice mode, skill acquisition. This is the grind, the repetition, building that solid foundation. And finally, you switch to the active mode, experimentation. You start applying what you've learned, you start breaking a few rules, and you start making it your own. Now, you've probably heard of the 10,000-hour rule, right? Well, Robert Greene basically doubles down on that. He suggests that to reach true mastery, we're looking at something closer to 20,000 hours. Now, that number isn't meant to scare you off. It's meant to be real with you. This is a long-term game, one that has to be fueled by a deep, genuine passion for what you're doing. Okay, so all that foundational work in the apprenticeship builds up to stage two, the creative active phase. This is such a critical turning point. It's where you stop being just a student who follows instructions and you start becoming a real practitioner who can shape the field yourself. You've learned the notes, now it's time to compose your own music. And here's where a lot of people get tripped up. At this stage, your technical skills are absolutely necessary. But believe it or not, they're not enough anymore. Your progress now really depends on navigating the human side of things. That means, 1, finding the right mentors to guide you, and 2, mastering social intelligence, so you can handle all the politics, the envy, and the tricky dynamics that exist in any field. A mentor is your ultimate shortcut.
They are a total game changer. Why? Because they've already walked the path. They can give you wisdom that would have taken you years of painful trial and error to learn on your own. A truly great mentor sees your potential and pushes you to become a version of yourself you didn't even know was possible. But here's the crucial thing about the mentor relationship. Your goal is not to become their clone. It's a process of absorption, then adaptation, and then, ultimately, evolution. You're there to internalize their knowledge, make it your own, and then push the boundaries of the field even further than they did. The student is meant to surpass the master. That's the whole point. So, along with finding a mentor, you have to get smart about people. Greene lays out these 7 deadly realities. These are basically universal human behaviors you're going to run into no matter where you go. You'll have to deal with envy as you become more successful. You'll feel the pressure of conformism, pushing you to just think like everyone else. And you'll definitely encounter things like passive aggression. Recognizing and navigating these dynamics is every bit as important as your actual craft. And that finally brings us to the summit, stage 3, attaining mastery. After all those years, all those tens of thousands of hours of deep, focused practice, something incredible starts to happen. All that knowledge becomes so ingrained that it actually fuses with your instincts, creating this higher form of intelligence. I love this comparison, which was inspired by a quote from Einstein. It perfectly captures what's going on here. Your rational mind, the one that learns rules and analyzes data, that's your faithful servant. It gets you through the apprenticeship. But your intuitive mind, that deep gut feeling for your field, that's the sacred gift that only emerges at the level of mastery. A true master uses both of them, perfectly in sync. And when that fusion happens, these almost superhuman qualities start to emerge. You develop what Greene calls a fingertip feel for your work. You just know the right move to make without thinking. You gain a global perspective, so you're not just looking at the next step, you're seeing the whole board. You start connecting ideas from totally different fields to create something brand new. And that right there, that's the source of all true creativity and innovation. A master sees the hidden patterns, the subtle connections that are completely invisible to everyone else. It's not magic. It's the earned result of those 20,000 hours. And it's what lets them make those intuitive leaps that change the world. So let's bring this all home. What does all this mean for you, for your path? The final and maybe most important lesson from the book is that we have to completely reframe what the goal even is. This is the single most important takeaway. You never actually arrive at mastery. It's not a finish line you cross. The moment you think you've got it all figured out is the moment you start to stagnate. It is a lifelong process, a continuous pursuit. And this is the mindset that keeps them at the top. True masters are always fighting complacency. They constantly go back to a beginner's mind. They remember what it feels like to not know everything, which keeps them curious, open, and always hungry to learn. They know there's always another level. So, think of everything we've talked about today as your map. It shows you the terrain, that points out the different stages, it warns you about the pitfalls. But at the end of the day, a map is just a piece of paper. The map is totally useless unless you actually decide to start walking the path yourself. So I'll leave you with the exact same question that Robert Greene starts his book with, the one that kicks this entire journey off. Forget the skills, the mentors, the 20,000 hours, just for a second. The very first move is always inward. So what is it that you were uniquely put on this earth to do? What is your life's task?